We're live.
The chair notes the time is 6:05. I call this meeting of the Amherst Zoning Board of Appeals to order. My name is Steve Judge. As ZBA chair, I want to welcome everyone to this meeting. We'll begin with the roll call of ZBA members. Steve Judge is present. Mr. Meadows?
Present.
Mr. Henry?
Present.
Mr. Varner? Mr. White?
Present.
And then I also want to note the presence of alternate members, Mr. Alfeld,
Present.
Ms. Greenbaum.
Present.
I don't think Ms. Khan is present, and Mr. Varner, you're present.
Yes, I am. Got my video on, my audio.
Got it. A quorum is present. Also attending the public hearing tonight is Jacinta Williams, planner for the town. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to observe the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a quasi-judicial body that operates under the authority of Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Amherst. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, and Article 10, Special Permit Granting Authority of the Amherst Zoning Bylaw, this public meeting has been duly advertised and notice thereof has been posted and mailed to parties of interest. All hearings and meetings are open to the public and are recorded by town staff and may be viewed via the Town of Amherst YouTube channel and ZBA webpage. Tonight's agenda. Tonight we have a public meeting on administrative matters. Public meetings, unlike public hearings, are not usually an opportunity for public comment. Instead, public meetings provide the ZBA members with an opportunity to discuss matters between themselves in a public setting. Tonight we'll be considering the following. Minutes from the October 24th, 2024 meeting, review of the terms of current members, proposed changes to the ZBA bylaws dealing with fees and also with the manner of in which an applicant can ask for a withdrawal, and any other matters brought up by members or staff. Following the public meeting, there will be an opportunity for general public comment on any matter that's not before the board tonight and other business not anticipated within the last 48 hours in an adjournment. Do any members of the board have any disclosures to make? If not, the first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the October 24th, 2024 meeting. I did not attend that meeting, but I have reviewed the minutes, so I have no substantive suggestions or proposed amendments. For those of you that were at the meeting, do you have any proposals or any proposed changes to the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the October 24th, 2024 minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? The vote occurs on the motion to approve the minutes. This will be a vote of the full members. The chair votes aye. Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Meadows?
Aye.
Mr. Henry?
Aye.
The vote is 4-0. Motion passes. The second order of business is some changes proposed to the, the second order of business is a review of the term of members. In your packet, you have a chart with that shows when each of our terms expire. Mr. Henry's term expires in 2026. My term expires this June, or I guess July 1st. Mr. Meadows expires in 2027. Mr. Slobiter also expires this summer, and Mr. White expires in 2026. All associate members are one-year terms, and they expire also this summer. I am not going to seek reappointment as chair to the board, so it means that during the course of the spring and next year, there'll be at least one new member on the board. Mr. Slobiter has indicated to me that he will also seek to be on seek membership for full membership on the board. But Mr. Henry, Mr. Meadows, and Mr. White's terms continue past this coming summer, past July 1st. And then for members, associate members, if you wish to continue either as associate members or wish to apply to be full members, that process takes place first by the, you've been through this, it takes place with the Community Relations Committee, the CRC Committee. There's a process that you have to go through to apply, and I think that will start sometime in the next couple of months. Are there any questions? Comments? Yep, Mr. Offel.
Will we be notified when the reappointment process or the reapplication process is initiated?
I don't think there's an automatic notification to people who are currently either members or either full or associate members. Okay. But I would think the best thing to do would be to contact either the town clerk, contact Jacinta, or to contact the chairman of the CRC committee, which I think is Councilwoman Pam Rooney. So to make sure that you don't miss the opportunity. Because I know in the past people have missed that opportunity and they couldn't get back into the queue. So it'd be important, if you're interested in being either continuing as an associate member or wanting to be a full member, get your interest noted to the CRC so they can start the process with you. Other questions, comments?
I can also try to confirm that process as well, just to...
Well, that'd be great, Ms. Williams. That'd be good to do. All right. If there's no other questions about terms and the process for being reappointed, if you so wish, we'll move to the next order of business, which is listed on the agenda as a zoning bylaw update proposal. But further examination by Ms. Williams and myself, I think we found that this seems to be just a ZBA bylaw proposed change that deals with fees. And so, if Ms. Williams, do you want to describe the changes in the fees that is being suggested?
Sure. So essentially what I noticed in my time working here so far is that sometimes people would come to the planning department with very minor changes that they needed to make. But then when you look at the fee schedule on top of whatever the legal ad fee might be, they might have to pay, upwards of $200 just to make a minor change to their application or to their property. And so I thought, it might be fair just to address that price gap, if you will, is to just kind of bring the price down. I mean, if you don't need to pay $300 for your legal ad, then you really shouldn't be paying $300 to amend something on, whether it's just a small application or a permit or something that's very, very minor. So that is why I'm proposing to kind of move supplemental apartments, which we're now calling ADUs, into a low impact use category. And that will cover things like fences and signs, just accessory uses that really shouldn't be, people shouldn't be paying like $200 to make a change to. It's just something that I realized, I observed, and no one prompted this from me. It's just something that I thought of as I was engaging with the community. So that is why I'm proposing to sort of pull those things together and consider it a low impact use.
So that would include accessory fees for owner-occupied properties, such as ADUs, formerly referred to supplemental apartments. I think that's a change from existing, where it's everything but ADU or everything but supplemental apartments. But given the state rules and the restrictions on towns' ability to limit ADUs, I think we probably should put the ADUs in this low impact fees, but then fences, signs, and other accessory uses as discussed in Article 5. And our amendments or modification to existing permits.
That's
Um,
correct.
But those could be, that last one, I'm just give me your thoughts on that last one, Ms. Williams, because you could have significant modifications to existing permits that are more than just sort of minor, like a sign change or fences, such as you described in the first bullet point. There could be some significant changes or amendments proposed to existing permits, and we've seen those, which would maybe be more likely to be similar to moderate impact uses. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I think for that category, it's a sort of a carryover. It was, if you look at the original, it's under the other category, and it's currently listed as same fee as use. And so that's where it gets a little bit sticky because, as you just pointed out, some things could be more minor than others. And I think maybe we can have a change in language there to say, like, if it's a minor modification or it's de minimis. But some way to sort of break those two things apart, I think would be fair, is what I'm proposing.
Okay.
And I think Ms. Greenbaum has her hand raised.
Yes, Ms. Greenbaum.
I have a question about minor things like signs and fences, which are not really permanent structures. I'm curious of why one has to record those in the registry of deeds, and that's another $105. Is that a state law or a town convention or just what? And is it something that we could delete?
Don't know that they have to record that with the registry of deeds. I haven't encountered anything like that yet here. I'm not sure if the intention when they put this together was to just have them pay that fee to come in and have staff look at it. Like, is it an administrative fee? I'm not quite sure what the intention there is.
Looking at the second paragraph about
Right.
yeah.
You're looking at this one. This is for when you actually have a special permit decision and you do have to file it with the registry of deeds. But I don't know, what I'm saying is, if you're making a minor change to a fence or a sign, I think that's really something that might come under a public meeting instead of a public hearing.
Okay.
And that way you wouldn't necessarily have to pay $105 to file that with the registry of deeds, because it wouldn't be a hearing or a special permit necessarily.
Does this, I'm not sure whether it was site plan review or where, what, for example, the iron fence that was at the Honky House on Main Street. I don't remember which board had it, but if somebody's changing, does something like that get registered? If it needs, if the fence is not 6 feet from the lot line or whatever the height is, however that, if somebody needs a permit for a fence because it's non-conforming or some such thing.
I can ask. That's something that I can ask about.
Yeah, because if that should be clarified, because
Okay.
it looks like if somebody comes in for a special permit for a fence, then I know they've done it because I've watched it here. And it's considered relatively minor. I don't think they should have, and it's something that's not a permanent structure because it doesn't, they fall apart. That should be clarified of what kinds of permits have to be recorded in the deed and whether they have to pay. I guess it doesn't, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't make sense to have to pay a fee to apply and then another fee to record it if it's a minimal thing.
So
I will look into that.
And Mr. Meadows?
I agree with Hilda that it probably should be a little better defined.
Yeah.
But that also the decision as to whether it is a minor or somewhat more elaborate change probably should go to the, if we decide to do this, should go to the building inspector to make the decision as to which way it's defined.
I think that's a good point, Mr. Meadows. One of the things that you could see is some non-conforming use that you want to change, and that should be recorded, on the deed as something that has been approved and it cannot be, is recorded and cannot be eliminated just because it's not in the it's non-conforming and it's not recorded with the deed. So I think we need a little more. I think we probably need a little more clarity on this before we're able to vote on it, Ms. Williams. I think those are good questions, and I'd like to know about whether it's recorded or not. And I think the notion of whether it's low impact or not should be left to the building commissioner.
Okay.
I have another thing to add to that. And that's, what if it's a change in use? Does that get recorded as part of the deed?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know either. So what I will do is take these questions back and chat with the building commissioner and see what he thinks. But with regard to the second paragraph, having just that standalone by itself, that's in there just so that people know the process, that once they do have their special permit decision, they do have to pay those additional fees. And I didn't want those to come as a surprise. That language does show up in their decision cover letter as well. So that's just putting it out front that in addition to the application fee, once you have your special permit decision, once it's been granted, you will have to, after the 20-day appeal period, pay the $10 for the certificate of no appeal from the town clerk, but also you will have to pay the $105 to file it with the Registry of Deeds.
So what we're looking at here is this could be a special permit application or a modification of a special permit that would have to have all the different, they already currently, even for low impact, have to pay the $10 and the $105.
That's correct.
To me. So the question is, number one, do low impact uses require, should they require a certificate of no appeal and registration at the Registry of Deeds? And that's really not, I think, within our purview to determine what has to be registered and what does not have to be registered. So I think we need clarification on that, because if it is registered, if they have to register it, they got to pay the fee, no matter what impact, low or high it is. But we can't determine that. We can determine what the additional fee is, the $50, $300 or $500 fee, but we can't affect the first and the $10 or the $105 fee.
Hey, Steve,
Correct.
I got another for instance. Another for instance is with the restaurants and bars. They want to change their hours, or they want to go from class 1 to class 2 or 2 to 1 or whatever. Things like that seems to me not worthy of being recorded. And
Well,
not,
I think that makes sense, but I just don't know. And so
yeah, add
yep,
it to the list.
add it to the list of things that should be determined. Mr. Alfeld?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. First of all, on the original Appendix B there, the two items at the bottom, the other category and the comprehensive permits, do those disappear from the proposed application fee appendix?
No, they don't
They're
disappear.
still there. Okay.
Yes, they are
They're
still
on the-
there.
they're on
I
the
just
next
wanted
page,
to,
which you didn't print. Okay.
correct. Yes.
Second question, in your proposed language under the low impact use, you referenced Article 5. And I wasn't clear, is that of the bylaws?
Yes,
of these
Article
bylaws?
5 of the zoning bylaw,
Okay.
which deals with accessory uses.
I think I'm looking at the right thing here, and this is maybe I'm out of date on the copy I have.
Yeah, I
August
have
20,
the, yeah,
2022. Because Article 5 is just like two sentences.
Mm,
It doesn't talk at all about,
No, it's more than
but I
that.
may be looking at an out-of-date version.
we discovered we all have different
Aha, okay.
versions
are
of
you, Mr.
the
Otto, are you
zoning.
looking at the rules and regs of the board or the zoning bylaw?
Okay, I think I'm looking at the rules and regs.
Yeah, I have a
Makes
different,
sense.
I'm sorry.
I have a different version of the bylaw than, a somewhat different version, at least on pagination and on the
Okay.
language as well. So,
Well, maybe for people like me, it could say Article 5 of the bylaws or something, just to clarify.
I will add that in.
And then my third question is more general. Is the point of these fees to roughly approximate the cost to the town of processing the application? Is that why
Yes.
a fee is charged?
Well,
Okay.
well, yes, and the reason that I'm proposing making this change is so that people aren't paying as much for, as others have pointed out, things
Yeah.
that should be relatively minor. And staff usually makes that decision when an application or proposal comes in, and we're using this as our chart or our way of determining, is it a low impact, moderate impact, or high impact? So that's what we're trying to do, is just sort of close that gap for people.
I think it's a good effort and I look forward to the rewording. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Henry has his hand up.
yeah. Oh,
So-
Mr. Henry?
So
Aye.
since we're talking about different versions of the bylaws and people having different versions, I think it may make sense to clarify. My version says effective June 27th, 2022.
Yeah. You have the most recent version.
Okay.
I have inadvertently thrown away the 2022 version and I'm operating under the 2020 version. So I have some different language here as well. So you do have the most recent version, Mr. Henry.
Okay.
So perhaps I will, going back to Mr. Offel's point, I will also say which version of the bylaw I'm referencing.
Yeah. So I think you are referencing the 2022 version. So of the bylaw.
Mhm.
I just have to download it and reprint it.
Okay, Ms. Greenbaum has her hand up.
Yeah, I have another question, which is, it used to be that when there was a public hearing, 3 or 4 or however many cases were on that public hearing could be in one ad. And now I notice the last few years since COVID and Zoom, there's a separate ad for every application rather than for the hearing. Or maybe that's not true, but it just seems that way when I look at them. And that since the ad is so much longer because it requires the legal words for using Zoom. I'm wondering if we can cut down the cost by having more than one application in each ad. Is that possible, or is this a new law?
It's not necessarily a new law. What's happening is the timing of these applications and trying to accommodate schedules and requests to be on certain public hearing dates. So unfortunately, that does mean, and this happened just recently, where I had two, it did the publication or it did the legal ad for the 13th. So that if you saw it, you would see it had 422 Amity and it had 28 Greenleaves. And then somebody came in after that and we had to put them on a separate legal ad. And it's just because of the timing, right? When not everybody gets their application in on time or at the same time rather. And so we are, processing them, determining completion and trying to accommodate as much as we can within, staying with the Mass General Law guidelines. So that's why, unfortunately, you're seeing some of these publications they're scattered or they seem scattered and they're not all on one hearing legal ad, if that makes
So,
sense.
but the $300 covers the cost of the ad, which is the way it's done. Or does each person have to pay for their own ad? How does that work?
Each person contributes $300 for the legal ad fee, but the town is still covering the actual like total cost.
It
So
costs
it's,
more than $300.
yes, it does. It definitely
Place the
does.
ad. Yeah, it's like $1,000 for the ads.
Well, if it keeps the local paper running, I guess you gotta pay it. Price of democracy.
Any other comments on the first matter? If not, I think Ms. Williams, we've got I think it's clear that we should come back, answer some of these questions, and have a minor redraft of this to clarify
Sure.
what we're looking at. And we can do that sometime later this year before the panels change. All right?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You bet. So the second one deals with an update of the ability to withdraw. And the goal here is to, if somebody wants to withdraw prior to publication of the special permit, that's fine. Once it's published, the public is put on notice that there's a special permit, and they can respond to it, or it's a public notice issue. And they can either respond to it, maybe they want to appear. But once it's published, we have to go through with the meeting, and we can't allow them to withdraw on their own without opening up the meeting, and then they have to make a request to withdraw at that meeting. Whether that meeting is in person, whether that meeting is by Zoom, they can write and give us a letter. That solves the problem. We can accept that letter, or they can say in person that they want to withdraw. And then we have to vote on whether they can withdraw without prejudice or not. So the point here, I think, Ms. Williams, was to clarify that you want the applicant to be required to attend the board meeting to present the request to withdraw, unless specifically excused by the chair. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's in case the board has questions, because it's not
Right.
guaranteed that the request will be granted.
Exactly. So we have to make a determination as to whether we want the application should be withdrawn without prejudice, meaning that it can be brought back within 2 years. And that's the question. So you don't want to be in a position where somebody serially puts out special applications, bogs up the board's time, and we can't say, you're going to have to we want you to withdraw this, and have to have a hearing on it, and it's just withdrawn again and again. So I think this makes more sense to say that the applicant should be required to attend the hearing, unless we receive something in writing and the chair of the ZBA says, I think that's fine. The application can be withdrawn, and then there's a vote on it. The chair doesn't make that determination whether it's withdrawn or not. The chair just makes a determination as to whether somebody has to actually appear before the board. Does that accurately describe how you wish to propose changes, Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Is there any questions about this from members? Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I would just ask, can we think of reasons why we shouldn't vote in the affirmative for this? I
I can't think
I figured I'd ask somebody else.
Yep. I can't think of a reason not to. We maintain the responsibility to vote on whether something can be withdrawn or not after it's been published. The applicant can withdraw before it's been published, because then it's not a public document. It's not been, the public hasn't been notified, and it's not officially before us. But I don't see any reason. I can't see a reason to oppose this. But maybe Mr. Offeld has a reason. His hand's up.
I think I don't have a reason. It looks like a good idea. All we're doing is saying you can't just write a letter to the ZBA. I think in the current withdrawal section, it reads as if you could just write a letter and not appear at the hearing. And now we're saying you write a letter and appear at the hearing, which makes perfect sense to me.
But it says that the applicant shall be required to attend the hearing unless specifically excused by the chair. So that's
Yes,
Yep.
in the new version, in the new
yes, the
version.
new version, right?
I'm just comparing it with the old version.
Yep.
Okay.
Which
That's
Yeah, which
well-
version are you voting on? The KP Law or the,
The one before us, Ms. Greenbaum, is KP Law suggestion.
oh, okay. So the other one is out of the picture, okay.
We're
Correct.
taking this one out, okay.
when I say old version, I mean the one that's actually in the current bylaws
Right.
and is crossed out and so on. Okay,
All right. Mr. Meadows.
We have had occasion where the request to withdraw was during the meeting, when they
Mhm.
got a sense of whether they were gonna go through with it or whether they were gonna get the proper amount of votes. And we've had occasion where the request to withdraw was after we began the vote. Or there was a request to request a withdrawal, which we didn't allow to go through because we're already in the process of voting.
Right.
So there are instances where we might not grant the request.
Mm-hmm.
We want
I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I think what Mr. Meadows is talking about is if we're in the middle of a hearing, we're taking, and the applicant sees that that it's not going the way they want it to go, either there's too many conditions that they don't like, or whatever it is, and they ask to withdraw during the course of the meeting. And they haven't written a letter asking us to withdraw. They haven't provided that ahead of time because they thought they wanted to go through the process for a special permit application. So would this allow that to happen? That they could request to withdraw and the committee and the board could determine whether they should be allowed to withdraw it or not, or whether we just want to vote it down. Correct? That's correct, Mr. Meadows? That's one of the issues that you're raising.
That's correct. And according to this, the way that this is written, if they didn't put it in writing before the date of the
We would-
hearing,
The only way it would be done is if the chair would have, if you don't strike out the last clause, unless specifically excused by the chair, you leave that in, then the chair could, you're giving the chair some authority here. The chair could specifically excuse them from the requirement of having requesting in writing prior to the date of the hearing, and said that on the basis that the new facts have occurred during the course of the hearing, and we should have a vote on whether they should be allowed to withdraw it or not. That's how you would deal with that in that instance, right?
correct.
Okay, so that's what that does. So I think we've figured out a way that under this formulation, we can still do we can still use the procedure that we've always used in the past, which is if during the course of a special permit application, the applicant decides they want to withdraw and the board wants to approve that, it can be done without a written request if the chair excused the need for the written request. Mr. Henry.
I thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure I'm following. So in this scenario, as we've done, to Mr. Meadows' point, if there's a determination made by the applicant, hey, this may not go my way, they can request to withdraw and the committee votes to withdraw with or without prejudice. Yes, still?
Yes.
Okay.
They can yep.
Okay. And the proposal, however, is that if after we've advertised the hearing, they need to be physically present to request to withdraw before any hearing starts.
Unless excused by the chair, yes.
Okay,
unless that requirement for writing before the date of the hearing can be excused by the chair.
and and
Yep.
without and with that request to withdraw before the hearing starts, that does not require a vote of the board to make that determination.
No, I think that request to withdraw after publication. Let's read this. Request to withdraw after publication of legal notice of the hearing in the newspaper shall be made in writing or on or before the date of the hearing, and the applicant shall be required to appear. So after publication, they've got to come and appear. So after publication, they have to come and appear.
Yeah, and that appearance, if we do not, if the hearing hasn't begun, they're just here to make a request to withdraw. Does that still require a vote by the board for them to withdraw?
Yes, once the publication has been made. So request to withdraw after publication and legal notice of the hearing in the newspaper shall be made in writing or on or before the date of the hearing, and the applicant shall be required to attend the board hearing to present the request to withdraw unless specifically excused by the chair. I don't think we want to be in a position where a duly noticed application is before the board and the applicant, and has been noticed to the public, and that there be a meeting on that application on such and such a date, and they withdraw, and we don't have a chance to say yes, that should be withdrawn, or no, that should not be withdrawn. It's on the public docket, and I think we have to go through the job of agreeing or disagreeing with the motion to withdraw at that point.
Okay, and one final question. So in understanding this process, these questions and everything, will we make the applicants be on notice that, hey, if after we advertise, you're asking to withdraw, you need to be prepared to go forward, because the board might say, no, you may now withdraw.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Because the board might want to say, no, we want to deny, we want to vote against this, or we want to we vote to withdraw with prejudice, which means that's the same as denial. You can't bring the same thing, essentially the same thing back for 2 years. Mr. Offeld.
Thank you. Okay, so after publication, the applicant has to both write and appear before the board,
Correct.
unless excused by the chair. And I think we're agreeing that the chair can excuse either the writing part or the being present part.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And
That's
so
what
my
that
question
reads.
is the language, that's what that reads? Okay. I just want to make it, when I first read it, I assumed the unless specifically excused applied to the being present part only.
No, I think it's.
But if others read it, fine. If others read it the way we intended, that's fine.
Shall be made in writing on or before the date of the board, the applicant required. And there's an and there. So I think that's the way it reads. He's required to have writing before on or before the date of the hearing, and the applicant shall be required to attend the board hearing. Right. And so I think the practical effect of this language is going to be that the applicant during the course of a meeting wants to withdraw, but he or she has not written a letter, and that the chair would say, I'm going to excuse you from the requirement that you write to us prior to the hearing to that request to withdraw. You're present here, we're talking about it, and now we'll vote on whether this application should be withdrawn. Does that make sense? Okay, that's how I see this would operate. Ms. Greenbaum.
Yeah, I was having problems with the verb excuse, but I get it now that you've clarified it. I was thinking aloud would be better, but no, I understand that now. The other question, since we brought up the issue of fees. If the guy or person withdraws the application before publication, can he get his money back? Should that be part of it?
I've had that come up, and I think the answer to that is no, because staff has already processed the application. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've already gone through making sure it's complete and things like
I
that.
can't hear you.
What she's saying is that there's a lot of staff work that's done prior to the publication.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So that isn't, the $300 includes the fee for the ad. And
Correct.
so the ad is not a separate fee.
No, the
Oh,
ad is not a separate fee. So, and some people write one check, they don't write two checks. So, you know, if we haven't published the legal ad, which we don't do until we've determined the application is complete and until I've determined there's a hearing date. If for whatever reason we've gone through, determined the application is complete, but then they change their mind and we haven't processed their check yet, they are more than welcome to come and get their legal ad fee. We wouldn't process that because we wouldn't have put that publication through or the legal ad through yet. But that's very rare because we try to keep that from happening, right? We want to make sure applications are complete. We work very extensively with prospective applicants, meeting with them multiple occasions to just decide, are you ready? Is this something that you need to move forward with, that you can move forward with, just to avoid that sort of redundancy, if you will. I hope that answers the question.
yeah.
Mr. Varner has his hand up.
Mr. Varner.
Mr. Chairman, I understood you to say earlier that it costs $1,000 to run an ad.
Mhm.
But
Because
we're giving people $300 for that? Oh, why are we doing that?
you know, I think it's because we don't want to impose, especially on small. I don't really know, to tell you the truth. I haven't set that fee, but I'll try to state what I think the notion is. That we don't want to impose $1,000, the full cost of the publication fee, the newspaper fee, on small projects that may be a significant portion of the sign or the small change they want to make. It's not particularly impactful if you've got a multifamily dwelling going up, but if you have just a small change that you need a special permit for, that $1,000 may be quite a significant portion of the cost of the project. I think that's what the town has thought in the past. I'll tell you that a few years ago, we went through this discussion on what the fees were. And we had thought, well, we could save the town some money and make all the applicants pay for all the costs. And the town opposed that because they felt that it would be an imposition on some homeowners who want to make small changes. So I think Mr. Meadows was on the board at the time, and that was the reasoning that the town gave us, and the board agreed with it.
Sounds fair. Thanks.
You bet. Okay, well, this is a suggestion to change our bylaws. Such a vote requires 3 full members to vote in the affirmative for that change to be made. Unless there are any other questions regarding the substance of this, I would entertain a motion that the changes as proposed in the KP law suggestion be made to the Zoning Board of Appeals bylaw.
Rules and regs.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, rules and regs. Yes, the rules and regs. Sorry. Thank you. So the rules and regs of the ZBA. Do I have such a motion for the change to the rules and regs of the ZBA?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
And I see, and Mr. White as well. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? If not, the vote occurs on the motion. The chair votes aye. Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows? I see an aye, but you're muted, but I see an affirmative.
Aye.
And Mr. Henry,
Aye.
loud and clear. All right, motion carries 4-0. The last order of business on the agenda is anything else that people wish to raise, either members, full members, or associate members, if they wish to raise any issues, any questions, concerns, comments about the ZBA, about how business is conducted. This is generally wide open discussion amongst us in a public setting, remember.
I would request that you take on another term, but I know that that's not gonna happen, so.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. It's been great, but 7 years is enough. All right. If there's no other comments, no other discussion on the in the administrative meeting, the next order of business is general public comment on any matter not before the board tonight. So, Ms. Williams, do we have anybody who are attendees? Do we have a sign up from no hand signals?
I'll give them
for
a
public
minute
comment?
because I see some familiar faces, or names rather. I don't see their faces, but
Yeah.
their names.
But I don't see any hand up. from
No,
any of the
no
people.
hands.
So there's no public comment on matters not before the board tonight.
No.
All right. And
Okay.
then any other business not anticipated in the last 48 hours? I think we've gone through the schedule, but will you just go through the next
Sure.
couple of meetings for us so we can
Sure.
tell us what we have on the agenda and who's on the panels?
Let me just pull it up so everyone can see it. Here we go. Okay, so we have 6365 Salem coming up on March 13th, in addition to 28 Greenleaves and then 422 Amity. I'll just run through those really quickly for anyone watching that may or may not remember what they are. 6365 Salem was a parking violation that came before the board back in December. They are going to be requesting to withdraw without prejudice on March 13th. That's sort of where that suggestion to revamp our rules and regs came from. That's where it was started essentially. 28 Greenleaves has been around for quite some time. I think precedes all of us. I don't know if it precedes you too, Chair Judge, but it's been almost 30 plus years since they started this project, and they're hoping to wrap it up. They're seeking a special permit just for building 28, and they're just going to try to amend their previous special permit as well. I think you have the project application report for that. So we can discuss that further when we get closer to the 13th. 422 Amity is coming back to amend the variance that was granted back in 2024. It's just on the grounds of their height. I think they're hoping to, get the new height approved, and that way they can move forward. So that's what we have on the 13th of March. On the
But on the
27th,
13th of March, we'll have to just 63, 65, we'll have to continue because we won't
Okay.
have the full original panel, I think.
that is correct. Let me just.
All right.
go
Yep.
this. Do. Okay.
Yep.
So on the 27th, we have 72 Curtis Place. This was a house that was destroyed by fire last February. So it was a 2-family non-owner occupied duplex. That's going to come back before the board just to ask that they can basically reconstruct the building and get back to, business as usual. That's the only one that we have for the 27th. On April 10th, we have Shutesbury. That's going to come before the board. there could be a possible request to withdraw that evening. So I'm saying that for those who are in attendance or in the attendees section who may have been wanting to hear an update about Shutesbury. But we will leave it to your discretion, Chair Judge, as to whether or not you will take public comment that night for that project, because we know that the public hasn't had a chance to say anything about
Right.
this. So that Shutesbury is
Yep.
coming up on the 10th, and then we also have another application, 120 Belchertown Road. So that's fairly new. Haven't really cracked the book open on that one yet, but that's also scheduled for the 20th, or for the 10th rather. And I think Mr. Meadows has his hand up.
Mr. Meadows.
I'm curious, Shutesbury Solar keeps on coming up, being continued, coming up, being continued. Is there a limit on the number of continuances that can go on or not?
Don't think so.
No, there's nothing in our bylaws, or I'm not aware of any state law that limits the number of continuances. But I think there may be a resolution to that, at least on continuances coming up on the 10th. So
Is state law changing regarding to solar projects of this type? And are we going by new state law or the old state law? How does that affect the project? And how does that affect our relationship to the project?
Ms. Williams, Mr. Meadows, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I don't know if I would surmise, and this is dangerous for me to just surmise this, but I would surmise that if there's a new state law that governs what local boards can do with solar installations, we would have to abide by the newer state law, even though the application was done prior to the passage of the newer state law. I'm thinking
I
that's
see
the
Mr.
case, but Ms. Williams
I
may
see
know the
Mr.
answer.
Henry shaking his head yes, and I would have confidence in his answer.
Yeah.
We would have to comply with the new laws. Yeah.
Okay.
And the fact that they haven't built anything, I do not
Mhm.
believe there is anything that would preclude us from asking them to comply with any new regulations to say you have to build it this way.
Okay, so we will be kept informed if there are changes that in regard to this then.
Yes.
Okay,
Right, Ms. Williams?
Yes, we will.
thank you.
And
You're
just
welcome.
from, again, the people on that panel is just four, if I remember right. It's myself, it's Mr. Meadows, it's Mr. Henry, and it's Mr. Sloviter. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
That's right. Yep, okay.
So
All right.
without you, yeah, that would make it very difficult for them to continue.
Yeah, that was part of my next question. If it goes beyond the time limit of this panel, what happens? Do we start all over again?
Yes. If the panel is only three, well, there's two things here. The first is, at times, the town has said that they have asked an existing panel member to stay on for the duration of the consideration of that specific application. And that has happened in the past and could happen. But if the town does not do that, or the retiring member does not wish to be part of the panel, then they would have to refile and start over, because it requires 4 votes to approve the special permit, and if it's only 3 on the panel, it can't be done. We can't substitute somebody in at this point. So the Mullins rule is one miss, and there's been several hearings, and we've already exceeded that. So, and lastly, the third option is for the applicant to ask to withdraw it, and that's the third option. So I could stay on, I could say I don't want to be part of it, or the applicant could say they wish to withdraw. Those are the 3 options concerning the future of that specific special permit application.
And
Thank
they
you.
have been notified that Chair Judge is not going to continue, so that kind of narrows down their options.
Mhm.
It's that, we specifics of the application any more than we kind of have done tonight, which is what are the mechanisms that we're going to, the mechanics of actually considering it. That's all permissive, but there's on the date. What's the date? Is the 10th. We can discuss whether it should. What's the best process for the town as well as the applicant going forward? Should it be withdrawn and start fresh, or should we continue this process that we're currently going through, asking me to stay on that panel going forward? That can be discussed on the 10th, because that all deals with the merits, more so deals with the merits of the application itself.
Thank you.
Yep, Ms. Greenbaum.
I have a procedural question. What is the policy now about packets for the meetings? Is that something we're supposed to read online, or are there printed out packets that one can get by mail or however?
If you need a packet that's printed, I'm currently only doing printed packets for Steve, for Chair Judge, but if you would like one, I can also prepare one for you. So just let me know.
I would, yes, please, because
Okay.
I have a hard time reading it on the screen.
Okay. All right, so
Just
I'll
let me
make
know
sure.
how whether you're gonna mail it or you want me to come in or what. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, comments?
Just one
Mr.
question.
Henry.
I know I'm on the March 13 meeting. Am I on any of those panels?
March 13th, I don't think so. Hold on, go back up. 13, Green Leaves is new. Amity is new. 63, 65. I don't remember exactly who was on that panel. That was the one where there were the cars parked out in front. I don't know if you were part of that one or not, Mr. Henry. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Yeah.
It's property that faces. There's only houses on one side of the street. There's conservation land on the other side. It's a duplex where they had cars parked out in front. The garages weren't being used for parking. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yes.
It does.
Does
Yeah,
it? Mr. Meadows, it does. Mr. Henry, does it?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
But
I think Mr. Sloviter as well was part of that. And Mr. White, you were part of that. So we may have enough people. We will have 4 people of the panel, I think, on that day. Oh no, Meadows is going to be gone. We don't have enough. That's right. That's why we couldn't do it. So Meadows, Sloviter, and White are all going to be gone that day. So it would just be you and me, Mr. Henry, and we can't do that. We need at least 4 people.
This is for
So-
63, 65
Yeah,
Salem.
53, 65. Yep. So we have to find another date for that one.
that's gonna be continued also. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think we made some good changes here, and we'll have additional information coming back from Ms. Williams, and we'll schedule a administrative meeting before one of the upcoming hearings that we have to go over this matter again. All right. So last chance for any comments from anybody, any questions, concerns before we adjourn? All right. You want to stay longer, guys?
No, so moved, so moved.
I know it's short, and we scheduled a whole
second.
night for this, but we can
Move
get
and second.
all do
Move and-
something else.
Move in second.
right.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. This motion is not debatable. The vote occurs on the motion. The chair votes aye. Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Henry.
Aye.
That's 4 resounding votes for adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you all and see you soon.